Hi, this is Miss Kyra. We're on page 149 in your activity book. Please have that open and ready, and you should find the heading Review of Rounding. That's not on my screen, but it should be in your book. Please have your place value chart ready, and we're going to be reviewing how to round in this lesson. Okay, we're going to be rounding to the nearest 10, to the nearest 100, to the nearest 10th, and to the nearest 100th. Your place value understanding at this point in 5th grade needs to be strong. You need to know what place values come after the decimal, and you need to know the place values in order that come before the decimal. So if you're still relying a lot on your place value chart, this should be memorized by now. So please make note of that. If you need to do some more memorizing, more practicing with it, then do what you need to do. I have this chart here. It says rounding. It's rules that go along with rounding in kind of a rhyme form. So read along with me. Rounding, mark your place, look next door. 5 or greater, add one more. Numbers in the front stay the same. Numbers behind, zeros their name. This should sound very familiar, look very familiar. You guys have done this in previous years. We did this, I believe, in Unit 2. So let's get some practice in again, do a little bit of refreshing, and then you are going to be set free and doing some of these problems on your own. So don't get started without me. I have a process I would like you to follow really closely for this page. Let's start off with number 1. It says round 42 to the nearest 10. Which 10 is closer to 42? We're going to box nearest 10 in your book. Is yours box nearest 10? Again, it's really important to always follow the instructions really carefully. You're always looking for what place are we looking at when we're rounding. In this case, it's the nearest 10. And we're working with the number 42. Please insert the number 42 into the first row of your place value chart. 4 in the 10s, 2 in the 1s. And let's round. So step number 1, mark your place. Well, our place here is we're working with the place value of 10. What digit is in the 10s place? Is it the 4 or 2? It's the 10. It's the 4 is in the 10. So we're going to underline the 4. And the next step is we're going to be looking next door. We're always looking to the right. So our arrows are always going this direction, and it always points at the next place value. So draw an arrow to the 2, and we're asking a question about this number we are pointing to. We're asking ourselves, is it 5 or greater, or is it 4 or less? Is 2 5 or greater? It's not. And it goes along with this other rhyme that's not on the chart. 5 or more, up the score. 4 or less, let it rest. I know you guys are familiar with that. 4 or less, let it rest. That means we are letting the digit that we have underlined rest. It's staying the same. We're not doing anything to 4. Numbers in front stay the same. Well, there's no numbers in the front, so we don't need to worry about that for this number. And then numbers behind zeros their name. So the numbers that come after the 4, we're going to replace with 0. So I can do this underneath. 4 stays the same, so draw another 4 in the 10 spot, maybe on the next row or the row after. And we're going to replace this 2 with a 0. And they give a really good they have a really good picture on the side of this problem. We see that 42, the next 10 up is 50. So we're asking ourselves, is 42 closer to 40 or to 50? And with this visual, it's very clear. 42 is definitely closer to 40. And we also follow the rules that go along with this rhyme to prove it as well. So we're going to put 40 as our answer for number 1. Do you have 40 marked into your book? Go ahead and erase your place value chart. These do take practice. So let's do a little bit more practice with rounding to the nearest 10s. Let's see, for numbers 5 through 8, let's do maybe one more. Take a look at number 5. So, yeah, so rounding to the nearest 10, again, box nearest 10. Number 5 is 46. Again, mark 46 into your place value chart. We're going to underline or mark our place. The 4 is still in the 10 spot for this digit, so underline the 4. Look next door. So we're going to draw an arrow as we look next door to the right. And we're asking ourselves, is it 5 or greater? Is 6 5 or greater? It is. So therefore, we're going to add one more. Which digit do we add one more to? We're always looking at the digit that is underlined. So in this case, 4, we're going to add one more to 4. And one more than 4 is 5. So down below, underneath 46 in the 10 spot, put a 5. And let's keep going. Numbers in front stay the same. There's no numbers in front. Numbers behind zeros their name. So numbers behind the 4 are going to end with 0. So we're going to change that 6 to a 0. 46 is closest to the nearest 10 that it's closest to is 50. Go ahead and mark that into your book. Let's keep practicing. So let's stop there for, let's not move on to number 6. Let's go back up to the page. Number 2 says round 762 to the nearest 100. Which 100 is closer to 762? Please box nearest 100 in your book. In your place value chart, please insert the number 762. Let's follow this whole process again. Mark your place. We're working with 100 here. So what digit is in the 100 spot? It is the 7. And we're going to be looking next door. Which digit is next door to 7? It's the digit 6 in the 10s. We're asking ourselves, is this 5 or greater? Is 6 5 or greater? Yes, it is. So we're going to be increasing our 7 then by 1. 1 more than 7 is 8. So underneath the 7, write 8 somewhere. Numbers in front stay the same. There's no numbers in front. Numbers behind zeros their name. So we're going to fill in our next place values until we reach the decimal with zeros to arrive at 800. And this holds true with the visual over here. 762, the 2 nearest hundreds is either 800 or 700. 762 is obviously closer to 800, and we also did that following our rounding rules. Let's keep going down the page, and let's find the next section in which we're rounding to the nearest 100 and practice with another one. Box that direction nearest 100. Let's do it with number 9. 231. Let's add it into our place value charts. Go ahead and erase them from the previous problem. Insert 231. What digit is in the hundreds place here? It's the 2. Underline that. Draw an arrow next door. We're asking ourselves 5 or greater or 4 or less. 3 is 4 or less, so that means let it rest, meaning we're not going to change the 2. So underneath in your place value chart, put a 2 in the hundreds again. Numbers in front stay the same. There's no numbers in front. Numbers behind, zeros their name. Let's add in zeros until we reach the decimal point, and we arrive at 231 rounded to the nearest 100 is 200. Mark that into your book. 200. Back up to the page. I know we're skipping around a lot, but I'm trying to do like a few examples from each kind of section. Erase your place value chart. Number 3, round 86 hundredths to the nearest tenth. Which tenth is closer to 86 hundredths? Box the directions nearest tenth here. We're working with rounding with digits after the decimal for this one. Process is still going to stay the same though. So mark 86 hundredths into your place value chart. Underline the digit that's in the 10th spot. Draw an arrow next door. So we're drawing an arrow to 6 and we're asking ourselves, is 6 5 or greater? It is. So that means we're going to add one more to our digit that's underlined. Okay, so underneath the 8, what's 1 more than 8, everyone? 9. So let's replace 8 with a 9. Numbers in the front stay the same. There's no number. Well, actually, there is. There was a 0 in our 1 spot. And again, we're going to put that there. And then numbers behind zeros, their name. Well, we learned in the previous lesson, if I replace 6 with a 0, I can have 90 hundredths, but this 0 has no value, so I can just drop it. And we arrive then at our answer. 86 hundredths rounded to the nearest tenth is 9/10. Go ahead and add that into your book. And I also have a tip for you guys, especially when we're working with rounding to the nearest tenth or hundredths. Your digit in your answer is always going to be in the place value in which we're rounding to. So I already knew for this one, my last digit in our answer should have been in the 10th spot because we're rounding to the 10th spot. Okay, so 9/10, that goes along with rounding to the nearest 10th. We also have a good visual over here. 9/10 or 8/10, it was closer to 9/10. Let's do that with another one. These decimal place values might get a little tricky, but again, same process. Go ahead and erase your whiteboard. Round to the nearest tenth, 73 hundredths. Please mark that into your place value chart. Nearest tenth here, I'm going to box that, so should you. And in your place value chart, which digit is in the 10th spot here? It is the 7, so underline that. Draw an arrow next door. We're asking ourselves 5 or greater. Add one more. Is 3 5 or greater? It is not. So that means 7, 4, it's 4 or less. So 7 is we're gonna let rest. It's not gonna change. So underneath, we're gonna keep 7 the same. Numbers in front stay the same. Numbers behind, zeros their name. Again, I could change the 3 to a 0, but that's not gonna hold any place value. We're rounding to the nearest 10th here. Our last digit should be in the 10th spot. So there we have our answer. 73 hundredths rounded to the nearest tenth is 7/10. Please add that into your book. Let's do our last place value that we're rounding to is to the nearest hundredth. Go ahead and erase your whiteboard. Round. For number 4, I'm up here again at number 4. Round 263 thousandths to the nearest hundredth. Go ahead and box that. Which hundredth is closer to 263 thousandths? Well, let's add it into our place value chart. Let's underline the digit that's in the hundredth spot. What digit's in the hundredth spot for this number? It's the 6. We're going to look next door. We're going to draw an arrow to the 3. Is 3 5 or greater? It is not, so we're not going to add one more to 6. We're just going to keep it the same. So in your place value chart in the next row, please keep 6 the same in the hundredth spot. Next rule is numbers in the front stay the same. So the 2 stays the same and the 0 stays the same. Numbers in front stay the same. Numbers behind, zeros their name, and since it's after the decimal, it doesn't hold any place, so I'm just going to drop that 0 and just keep it at 26 hundredths. 26 hundredths, mark that into your book, and look at the visual as well. And